It's hard to put into words just how much a video game can shape your life, especially one you first encountered when you were like 6 or 7 years old. But for me, that game was Final Fantasy VII. What started as a weekend rental from a small video store turned into a lifelong obsession, a creative inspiration, and an emotional anchor that I honestly still carry with me to this day. So I'm really excited to share this video with you guys. This is more of a personal, kind of introspective, deep dive look at how Final Fantasy VII, a PlayStation 1 game of all things, had this massive impact, this ripple effect on my personal life and my creative life as well. I'm really excited to share that with you guys. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already, and comment your thoughts down below. I would love to know, do you have a game that's, had a huge impact on your life, or do you feel similarly to me with Final Fantasy VII? I'm a Final Fantasy VII fanboy and geek and a nerd at heart, so I'm excited to share this with you guys. Let's get to it. The year was probably around 1998 or 1999. I had finally gotten my PlayStation 1 after what felt like a forever layaway at Walmart. Back then, I was obsessed with my Nintendo 64. Mario 64 was my first game, and of course you move on to the rare classics like Banjo-Kazooie, and then my favorite and what I would say is arguably the best racing game of all time, Diddy Kong Racing. But once I found out about the PlayStation, I absolutely had to get it after seeing Spyro and Crash at some sleepovers and Saturday playdates at some school friends' houses. And after what felt like a grueling layaway period at Walmart, I was finally able to secure my PlayStation 1 and Crash Bandicoot Warped. After all, like I said, it was games like Spyro and Crash that drew me to the console in the first place. But one day I remember wandering through my local video rental store in Valley View, Pennsylvania, trying to kill some time while my parents looked for a new release on VHS. It was there that I spotted the front cover of Final Fantasy VII. That now iconic image, the spiky-haired guy with a massive sword staring up that building, it looked like nothing I'd ever seen before, and I was hooked without even knowing what I was getting into. I even remember thinking to myself, should I try and persuade the staff to take my current games for it? Yes, I was hooked without even booting the game up. That comes from an era where we really could just pick a game off the shelf, judging a book by its cover, so to speak, and taking that game home and hoping for the best. Once I did take that game home, I put the disc into my PlayStation 1, and for the first time, it was like opening a portal to another world, a true one-off moment in time. That moment where the orchestra swell hits during the opening cinematic, and you see Midgar for the first time, it really just hit me. I remember sitting on the carpet of my living room, eyes wide open, staring at what was probably this 30-some-odd inch RCA CRT TV. The music, the world, the battles, the artwork, I was in awe. It was like nothing I've ever experienced before, and maybe even since. Thinking about those days, it really takes me back to those cutscenes blowing my mind back then. I used to have a little CRT TV in my room with a built-in VHS player, and I would record some of those cutscenes straight to tape, specifically the escape from Shinra HQ. Man, the whole vibe of the game was so cool. At the age I was at the time, it's fair to say that I didn't really understand some of the deeper themes of the game, but something about Cloud really struck a chord with me. He looked so cool, and likely, the same for a lot of you at the time. The now iconic blonde, spiky hair, the soldier outfit, the Buster Sword, it was a real deal, and of course, coupled with his tough, standoffish attitude. But as the game unfolds, you realize it's all just a front. He's not really truly the confident hero that he pretends to be. There's something more happening on the inside, and I think even as a kid, some part of me picked up on that. Looking back now, I can see that Cloud's journey of self-discovery mirrored things that I saw in people in real life, like trying to figure out who you are, putting on a brave face when you're unsure inside. That's something that a lot of us go through, and maybe one of the reasons why I looked a bit more closely at Cloud and his character arc. And aside from Cloud, there are a lot of emotional moments throughout this game that have really stayed with me over the years. So I want to break down some of my favorite emotional moments from Final Fantasy VII. Barret reconnecting with his long-lost friend Dyne in the Corel Desert Prison is an amazing scene. Once as close as brothers, both men survive the destruction of their hometown, Barret losing his arm and Dyne presumed dead after falling from a cliff, but Dyne actually lived, unfortunately consumed by grief. And when they reunite, he's unrecognizable. He's violent, he's broken, and he's ready to end it all. Dyne believes there's no future worth fighting for, not even for his daughter, Marlene, whom Barret has been raising himself. Their clash isn't just physical, it's a heartbreaking divide between hope and hopelessness. Barret's victory is hollow, and Dyne ultimately, his story ends right there. The scene strips away Barret's tough exterior and shows a man grappling with guilt, love, and the weight of survival. While investigating a Mako reactor near Nibelheim, Sephiroth uncovers classified Shinra documents, revealing that he may have been created through an experiment involving the cells of an ancient being named Genova. This shatters his identity immediately. Convinced he's the last of the Cetra and destined to reclaim the planet from humanity, he descends into madness. His obsession with his true purpose drives him to destroy Nibelheim, setting the town ablaze in an unforgettable act of cruelty. This moment marks Sephiroth's transformation from celebrated hero to one of gaming's most iconic villains. I love that whole scene where he's pacing up and down in the Shinra Manor basement. It's amazing. Zack Fair, a soldier first class and a mentor to Cloud, is a key figure behind some of the game's lore. After escaping from an experimental lab from Shinra with a mentally broken Cloud in tow, the two journey across the wasteland toward Midgar. Near the city, they're ambushed by Shinra forces. Outnumbered and exhausted, Zack makes a final stand to protect Cloud and ultimately doesn't make it. And Cloud, in a haze of trauma and confusion, assumes aspects of Zack's identity, setting the stage for this identity crisis that drives much of the game's narrative. Now, I know it's not really Final Fantasy VII. Crisis Core expanded a lot on this, and even playing the reunion version of it a couple of years ago really just surprised me how emotionally invested I was into the story. It's one of those games when you play it, you're guaranteed to shed a few tears at the very end. Later in Final Fantasy VII, after suffering a mental collapse, Cloud falls into the Lifestream and is rescued by Tifa. Inside this ethereal flow of memories and consciousness, Tifa helps him piece together the truth. His memories are fractured, shaped by trauma and guilt, and his admiration for Zack. It's here that Cloud confronts the reality of his past, accepting that while he was never really a soldier first class, his strength and his identity are still his own. It really is a pivotal moment of clarity where Cloud reclaims who he really is, not a copy, not a failure, but somebody finally at peace with the truth and who he truly is. As Sephiroth prepares to summon Meteor and absorb the planet's energy to become a godlike being, Cloud and his companions launch a final assault. In the northern crater, they confront in a climactic battle. With the help of all their friends, all their strength, and the power of the planet's life stream, the party finally defeats Sephiroth. In a final symbolic clash, Cloud and Sephiroth face off, and he becomes triumphant once and for all. The ending is a little bit ambiguous and a little bit positive, of course, as Midgar faces destruction, but life endures. The final message is one of healing, not just for the planet, but of identity and legacy and purpose. There's a lot of great seeds that are sown at the end of the game for you to think about post-credits. And of course we have Erek's death. It's one of the most famous scenes in gaming. After leaving the party to pray for the planet in the Forgotten Capital, Erek is found kneeling in quiet, hoping to summon Holy, the only magic capable of stopping Sephiroth's meteor. And just as Cloud reaches her, Sephiroth descends from above and drives his sword through her without warning. There's no fanfare, there's no time to react, just the sudden brutal loss of this beloved character. The moment is quiet, almost serene, but the emotional weight is crushing. And for many players, it was their first experience with permanent loss in a video game. Erek's death isn't just a plot twist, it's a turning point that really deepens the party's resolve, underscores the stakes of the game, and reminds us that even in a fantasy world, not every life can be saved. However, for me, this iconic moment was spoiled thanks to early internet fan sites, but overall, it still hit hard. Back then, I was a super fan of Final Fantasy VII. I never really truly finished the game. I would love to look around Yahoo GeoCities fan sites and everything, and inevitably, yes, I found the spoilers there, and it was very devastating, but still, yeah, it was an amazing moment. Even knowing it was coming, nothing really prepares you for it. The way the music changes, the stillness, it really is haunting. And hey, by the way, if you are enjoying this kind of video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because almost 91% of the people that watch this channel on the regular aren't subscribed. So if you want to support, I would love to have you here week in and week out with every new video I make. As I grew older, Final Fantasy VII became more than just a game that I loved. It became something that influenced me creatively. One of my passions aside from games is music. I'm a lifelong fan of music and a lifelong musician. I've even owned my own recording studio for a period of time, and now I'm still very active in the post-production world. But back in 2014, I started a project called Retro Game Remix, where I would essentially rearrange and perform classic video game songs as a fun creative outlet. As the years went by and my skills grew, I started to work on full concept albums instead of one one-off covers. And Final Fantasy VII was always something that stuck in the back of my head as something that I wanted to look at doing some sort of arrangement for. Eventually, I poured my passion for the game into something tangible, a 14-track tribute album called Lifestream. It's a prog rock, classic rock inspired project that only took 3 weeks to bring to life because once I'm inspired, the work just flows. This album was my way of saying thank you to the game that had given me so much, and being able to put that out there for other Final Fantasy VII fans to enjoy really means a lot to me. And this particular album was actually able to be pressed on vinyl, of all things. Video game vinyl community is well and truly alive, and I'm really glad that I was able to get this pressed. I think there was only 150 copies. Beautiful artwork on the front and the back. And we have the Holy Materia green variant looking like the Lifestream as well. There are copies still available, and it's available to stream on Spotify as well. I'll leave links down below. I'm very proud of this, and as a Final Fantasy VII fan, I'm so glad that I was able to put something out there, again, as a way of saying thank you. And this is just a really fun way of hearing my personal spin on the already amazing soundtrack. But overall, the soundtrack of Final Fantasy VII was incredibly influential, and it would be a disservice to not talk about it in this kind of video. Nobuo Uematsu's compositions were unlike anything I heard before. They made me realize how powerful game music could be. Of course, not just background noise, but real emotional storytelling. That idea stuck with me and ended up guiding a lot of my own musical direction. And just like the games that came before it, with limited hardware and no voice acting, his compositions carried the full weight of every scene. Each track became inseparable from the moments they scored, imprinting themselves in my memories and likely yours as well. Uematsu didn't just write background music, he created an emotional language for the game, one that helped define its soul and continues to resonate decades later. Over the years, I've found myself coming back to Final Fantasy VII again and again. It's like revisiting a childhood friend. Every playthrough brings something new. Maybe I'll notice a bit of dialogue I missed, or a detail in the environment that hits differently now. I've played through the game in so many different ways, so each time I play through it, it almost attaches new memories to the game. So whether I'm playing in my childhood living room or streaming a Let's Play on Twitch, there's always so many new ways to experience this beloved classic. And the story is something that I can always see from a different perspective each time I play it. With age, I've found new ways to appreciate all the different twists and turns that the story has to offer. And Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth have only deepened that connection. Seeing Midgar again through a modern lens with Remake, going out into the greater world in Rebirth, watching these characters move and breathe in ways we could only dream of back in the late 90s. I mean, it's second to none. It's incredible. And I can tie both of these games to specific times in my life, which makes me feel an even deeper connection to the game. With Final Fantasy Remake, my son was only just a couple of weeks old, so I was trying to binge this game as much as I could in between the late night feeding sessions. And Rebirth came out when he turned 4 on his birthday, February 29th. He's a leap year baby, so technically it was really only his first birthday. So I enjoyed his birthday, but man, it was great to get him to bed and finally dive into the world of Rebirth. I'll never forget those times. And both of those games don't replace the original for me. They complement it, like different angles on the same cherished memory. So as a lifelong Final Fantasy VII fan, the Remake trilogy is truly a dream come true. So if I could say one thing to the creators of Final Fantasy VII, it would be thank you. Thank you for making something that still matters to me and millions of other people decades later. This is something that's inspired me, shaped me, and even given me a creative voice to a certain extent. And if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, well, I'll tell you this. It's not just the story or the combat or the nostalgia. It really is the feeling that it leaves you with. The questions it asks about identity, memory, friendship, and purpose. It's one of the most essential JRPGs ever made, and even today, it still has the power to move people. And even if you don't agree with my thoughts or my assessment on Final Fantasy VII, there's a good chance that there's a game that you love that makes you feel the same way. Maybe it's Chrono Trigger or Earthbound, or maybe even something newer like Metaphor ReFantazio or one of the Persona games. Final Fantasy VII didn't just give me a world to escape into back then, and even now. It grounded me with big ideas, and now decades later, I can see that it was all part of something bigger than just what came on a PlayStation 1 disc. A whole generation of fans who grew up with Cloud and Aerith and Barrett and Tifa carried their lessons into adulthood. Maybe that's what makes this game timeless. It really grows with you. So Final Fantasy VII has had a massive impact on my life, as you can tell by this video today. You know, ever since I wandered into that video rental store and I grabbed Final Fantasy VII for what would have been a weekend rental or a couple day rental, totally changed the trajectory of my life. So if you feel the same way about this game, I would love to know your thoughts. And if not, I would love to know a game that you feel similarly to as well. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and we'll see you again on another video next week. Bye-bye.